Come on down to the Law Student Lounge with your host, attorney Ryan McKean, where law students like you tell their stories. So pull up a chair and join us in the lounge.
Hello, everyone, and I am so excited to be here for this episode of the Law Student Lounge. Today, I have Anthony Ardizzone. He is a 1L student at New England School of Law. Welcome, Anthony.
Thank you, Ryan. Pleasure to be here.
Anthony, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? Tell us about your journey.
So I have a very circuitous journey. Originally from New Jersey. I grew up there, went to school there, and then I moved up to Massachusetts for college. I went to Stonehill College down in Easton. Graduated with a bachelor's in economics and political science with the hope initially of going to law school after I had graduated. But unfortunately, I didn't have the money to go to law school right out of school. So after I graduated, I moved back to New Jersey, worked there for a few years. In that time, I also, in 2016, I found out about a paralegal studies program at Fairleigh Dickinson University in, I think it was in Madison. They have multiple campuses, Madison, New Jersey. It was a 6-month program where you kind of learn the ins and outs of learning the law, but also just learning skills that would help you be a good paralegal. So I did that in 2016. At the same time, I also worked a couple of paralegal jobs at that time. The first firm I worked in was it was a split firm. There was 2 partners. One partner mainly did a lot of commercial litigation, did some landlord-tenant, things like that. And the other attorney mainly focused on personal injury, workers' compensation. So I more worked on the commercial litigation, landlord-tenant side as opposed to the personal injury side, but I did have experience in both. And then I moved to a firm that exclusively dealt with intellectual property. I was brought on to replace the patent paralegal there. So I'd say 95% of my work there was in patent, and it wasn't a lot of litigation. It was mostly dealing with the nightmare that is the USPTO, and ended up leaving that job. Did some other odd jobs in New Jersey before I got an opportunity from a friend in high school to move back up to Massachusetts. They were looking for people to help out with Governor Baker's reelection campaign. And I took the chance. I applied around the same time after I got the offer. I was agonizing about where am I gonna find a place to live. Never lived on my own outside of college before. And then I had a friend from college who was moving out of his apartment to move in with his partner. So it all kind of just worked out. So I moved up to Massachusetts, worked on the campaign. He got reelected. Then I got a job in state government. And I thought, this was my path. I'm going to work in politics, eventually get a job in state government, just become like a professional bureaucrat. And I found I didn't really like it that much. The work I was doing was very mundane. After COVID hit, I felt like my job wasn't even needed at the agency anymore. I was mainly doing a lot of internal emergency preparedness work, which doesn't make much sense when you no longer have a physical office space, because a lot of my work was relied on us having physical office space. So I was talking to my partner about this one night, and I mentioned to her that I had previously wanted to go to law school and that I couldn't because I just didn't have the money at the time. So she told me, this was back, I think, in August or September of 2022. She told me, by this time next year, you're going to be in law school. Like, she just said it so straightforwardly, like, you're going to be in law school. So I ended up studying for the LSAT. I took it in February 2023. And then we went on vacation in March. And while I was on vacation, that's where I got the acceptance to New England Law. And then the rest is history. So here I am.
So awesome. And, increasingly on this podcast, I've talked to a number of students who have gone back to law school after, like I went to law school straight after college, basically. I graduated early from college. I worked basically a year at Enterprise Rent-A-Car and then went right into law school. But for all real purposes, like there was not a significant amount of time between undergraduate and law school. So a few things to sort of unpack from that. And one of which is what you said about your partner. And that is so important. Like, those people in our lives are so important. People who can help move us past, help unstick us, help move us in the direction of becoming the person that we were meant to be. Like, we all need cheerleaders out there. So kudos to your partner for getting you out of the stands and getting you onto the field. That is amazing.
I really love that analogy. And it wasn't just her. I mean, over the years, my family was also telling me, is this what you want to do with the rest of your life? Just kind of just working for just like not a great salary in a government job. Like, even they were like, but at the same time, I didn't have the proximity to them. I see my family maybe twice a year at this point, like holidays, and that's it. So, having someone there who's with me every day, to like kind of be like, no, you're better than this. You're intelligent. You have a bright future. You deserve more than this. And I think that if you were to go to law school, you'd succeed. So I definitely needed someone like that. So, to help me along, because the way I'm thinking of is like, I'm just working and I'm just making money and I'm living comfortably, but at the same time, like, I don't have any real like roadmap to where is this going to lead to in the future. Is this going to eventually lead to a better government job? I don't know, but like, it's just kind of, that's the thing about government jobs is they can be such dead ends. So, moving into something where I actually have a passion for it, is important.
It is important. And, you're going to need those people. If you're out there and you're in law school, you're going to need those partners or colleagues or professors or friends or wherever you can find them, family members. Like, their encouragement is actually going to matter like disproportionately to almost anything else. So having somebody, in your life in general, if really people who achieve a lot, surround them with incredibly supportive and positive people. And I found, even Anthony, with the practice of law, like, there was a while where I go to like bar association meetings, local bar association meetings, and they were so depressing. It was, oh, it's hard, and oh, clients, and oh, this, and oh, the regulations, and oh, the internet, and oh. And I was like, oh man, I need to stop going to these things because it is making me feel bad and depressed. And I had the really good fortune of getting invited to a mastermind with really positive attorneys who were very incredibly forward thinking. It was out in Chicago. And actually had just firms that were like insanely much bigger than mine, but I was sort of like the charity case that they brought along with them to hang out. And it changed my life, being around people who were positive, forward thinking, people who were like, you can do this, you can push through, I got you. So wherever you are in your law school journey, legal journey, be very aware of the people who are proximal to you at all times. Because boy, does that negativity hold you back at the end of the day. So really be on the lookout for that. And awesome for you. One of the things that, how has it been? You're in we're recording this pretty much Thanksgiving 2023. So you're going to be heading into your midterms, finals, a few weeks here.
We have the last day of our classes was just yesterday. So
so how has it been adjusting from working full time to now going back to school? How's it been being a student again?
Wow. I think it's important for me to just realize that back when I was working full time, obviously you work 9 to 5, and then after that you're just done for the day. You can lounge on the couch. You could just my partner and I, we've been binging different shows. Started with Suits. There's other shows we've been like just randomly binging throughout this time, but realizing that not even the nights that I have class, obviously it's different. I should also perhaps I'm an evening student as well. So
yeah.
So like just knowing that like I had to be done with work and then just immediately get ready for class. Like that mind shift is very tough, and just finding the time to make sure that I'm instead of lounging on the couch and doing nothing, making sure I have the time to do readings for class or complete papers or finish quizzes that are due, anything like that. It really saps your free time And I thankfully gave my friends fair warning that like, hey, I'm not really going to be around very much. I have done a couple of social events. Thankfully, I've made the time for some social events since I started school, but it has kind of just gone off a cliff. And I'm not to say it's a bad thing. Like my friends know that, hey, you know what, you are going towards something. This is your passion. This is something that is worth the time and the effort. Put in the time and the effort. We'll always be here if you need someone to talk to. We'll be here when you're done, So I think it's just good having people who understand that, like, this is a huge transition in my life. And it's been very helpful in that regard that I have people who are supportive around me. But again, the mind shift, it took a few weeks for me to be like, oh, that's right. I can't just lounge around now. I have to go do homework or something like that. But I guess I'm not too far removed from school. I don't know. There are some people in my class who are older than me. I feel like for them, it might have even been a more shift. Like, who knows, maybe they were in school like 20 years ago or something. I feel like I feel for those people. I feel like it's extra hard for those people. And then I have some people who are, a couple of years out of school. So maybe it wasn't a hard adjustment for them at all. But for me, it took some time, but I'm a quick study. I'm able to transition when I need to. So.
Yeah. So what surprised you about law school? So if you could go back to yourself and, July 4th of July of 2023 and tell yourself something about law school, like what did you expect it to be and how is it similar or different than that?
So I'm not sure if I knew what my classes were at that point. I guess for the sake of hindsight, let's say I did know what my classes were. The classes that I found myself actually interested in is definitely different than what I thought going in. So I thought going in that, like for me, contracts would be like the one class I'd be really interested in. I don't know. I have an economics degree. I just feel like they kind of go together. Maybe civil procedure, given that I also have a political science degree, and I'm actually really looking forward to con law. I think most law students don't actually say that, but I'm one of them that is saying that. And civil procedure is very, very tangentially related. In fact, even before our semester started, the professor gave us like kind of like a extra credit sort of thing to do throughout the semester, and it was basically like a primer on con law. So, I found myself really enjoying torts. I didn't think I was going to enjoy torts all that much. I thought torts was going to be like your typical, like, oh yeah, slip and fall, like stuff that I had to learn when I was in the paralegal program. But I'm a sucker for theory. I don't know. I like learning more of the theory of things than necessarily the practicality of things. And there's a lot of theory that goes into torts, and I did not expect. I remember the first time reading that textbook, I was like, wow. Okay, this is not what I was expecting in a good way, and of course my professors have been great, like, so they're very good at, teaching the material. I guess also one thing I wasn't super aware of, just because it's not like this in undergrad at all, is the lack of grades in general. I think I've had like one graded assignment so far this semester. Like pretty much all the grades are just like your final. So I was not expecting that. I thought there was going to be like homework and, like we'd get graded on that, or like there would be in-class quizzes or tests, like something you'd find in high school or undergrad. And that has not been my experience at all. So.
Yeah. No, I think that's, it's interesting because what I'm hearing is like, yeah, like what you really find as you study law is law is really like the operating system for society. And so when we talk about, tort law, we're really, really talking about are really important things, right? We're talking about accountability. We're talking about safety, because, look, the only thing that corporations respond to is money. And so the only way to hold them accountable from a much more dangerous world is the idea that they could, in fact, be held accountable by a jury. If cases are brought. So, you have a push for safety. You also have the notion that not all countries share this, which is that human life is of value. And that, it's not just the medical bills. It's like, hey, you couldn't enjoy time with your kid, or you couldn't, play golf the way you played golf before, and that is compensable. So it really gets at some values. And one of the hardest courses that I took was actually an advanced civil procedure class in law school called Federal Courts and Jurisdiction. So if you're out there and you're ever sort of listening to this and you're like, hey, I'm interested in common law and civil procedure, like those things greatly overlap. And so a fascinating course for you has got to be something where what are federal courts, jurisdiction, what are limitations on jurisdiction, like what courts and what federal courts even have to exist, how do they not exist? What about Article 2 courts? I mean, you just have all of these other things that actually deeply underpin the Constitution and how the framers intended the courts and government to work, and actually how it could work in the future. I mean, you could have you could have a
So I could piggyback off this. So one thing that we covered in civil procedure this semester was the stream of commerce theory, and how that law is just not really settled. You had a case, Asahi versus Superior Court, where Justice O'Connor gave one opinion, Justice Brennan gave another opinion, and Justice Stevens gave a third opinion, and none of those opinions gained a majority. And then there was a case, I think I don't remember the name, but it was 30 years later, where the same thing happened. You had a Justice, I don't remember, maybe it was Justice Roberts, who kind of articulated O'Connor's theory. You had, I think it was Justice Kagan or Sotomayor addressing Brennan's theory, and then you had Justice Breyer assessing Justice Stevens' opinion. But again, none of those got majorities. So that law is totally unsettled. And it really just comes down to, who's going to get the majority someday. Because right now, if a stream of commerce opinion comes before the courts really don't know what to do. It's as simple as that, because there's no settled law, because the Supreme Court on 2 different occasions just could not come to a consensus. So, and I think that's what I find fascinating about the law, is that it's just constantly changing.
Yeah, no, it is, it is constantly changing. It's constantly evolving. It needs to be some flexibility. We need to be able to have law that works for society. Society is more complicated. It's really challenging, and it gets to the core of what are our values as a country? What matters? Why does it matter? Where are we going to spend our time and money?
I just say that you have great analogies, like you talking about getting out of the stands, going onto the field, you saying that the law is like the operating system for society. It's operating systems need to be updated, So, you got great analogies for the law. I love it.
Yeah. So all right. So what is it that, now you've got paralegal experience. You're not the first paralegal that I've interviewed. What is it that you want to do as a lawyer? What did you go in wanting to do something? Has that changed? Let's talk about that.
Oh, that's a good question. So one thing I didn't mention as well, and I didn't do this in college, this was in high school, I did mock trial. So, and I was one of the attorneys in our mock trial. So the idea of we practice, I don't remember, I think the case had to do with the kidnapping case or something. So it was more on the criminal side than the civil side. But, we actually, we practiced, we went up in front of an actual judge in the county courthouse, and we actually basically had a trial with another team, and that was a great experience. I think there's this notion that for a lot of people that going into law means, oh, I'm going to go into law, I'm going to get my law degree, I'm going to pass the bar, and then I'm going to spend some days doing discovery, interrogatories, depositions, and then I'm going to go into a courtroom and we're going to have trial, or we're going to settle, or I think it's weird. I mentioned to people as an aside that who's one example of a lawyer? Adam Silver, the commissioner of the NBA, is a lawyer. He doesn't practice law anymore, but he's a lawyer. So it's the idea is that having a law degree can be so versatile for so many different things. But I don't know. I'm still a 1L, and I spoke with Andrew Garza about this, your co-founder at Connecticut Trial Firm, and he told me it's okay that you don't know what you want to do yet as a 1L. The important thing is that you take every opportunity in front of you, and you keep an open mind. You might find that you take a class, your 2L or your 3L, or you start working at a firm and you find that you love the work or you hate the work. You go to conferences like the $100 million day conference that you hosted in Boston a couple weeks ago. You talk with other attorneys, you talk about the work they do and what got them into doing that. And it's just allowing yourself to completely absorb all the information you're given. So it's a very roundabout way of saying I don't know what I want to do with my law degree yet. Still in the early process. I've got 7 more semesters to go. So my hope is that it's easy for me. I get a job in a law firm where I love the work, or I take a class that I fall in love with someday. But at the moment, again, I'm keeping my options open. I've spoken with plenty of alums. I've spoken with plenty of other lawyers, and it's a big wide world out there. There's a lot you can do with a law degree. So my hope is that I find it sooner rather than later. So that way I can devote as much of my time as possible to doing that.
This is a great conversation because it is the one question that I absolutely try to avoid asking law students, though I think maybe I asked you about it in a roundabout way, so I have failed in some way, which is like, it was I needed, which is like, what do you want to do after law school? And look, for some of my classmates, like a very small handful of them, and I've been out almost 20 years at this point, some of my classmates, like they knew they wanted to be public defenders and they went in and they became public defenders, and that's what they still are, right? Like, but I had a class of, 200, like that encompasses about 3 of them. And what really law is that there is your career is going to have is actually going to be a series of careers. And so where you may start may not be where you end. And also, like, man, the world has changed. Like, I graduated in 2005, which doesn't feel that long ago at all. But like things like Web 3.0, cryptocurrency, artificial intelligence, if you were doing cannabis law, it meant you were representing a guy on the street. Now you could be representing a large-scale commercial business who is filing zoning applications and trying to figure out federal banking laws and things like that.
Yeah, that's very true.
Bitcoins, cryptocurrency, social media doesn't exist. And all of these things have sort of profound effects on society and law, and it's gotten much more complicated. So I guarantee the pace of change in the next 18 years, as opposed to the last 18 years, is only going to accelerate. So there are going to be whole fields of law that did not exist right now. It is hard. Some of those we may see, some of those we do not see. And so, I think it's very important to keep an open mind. And also, as you go through courses, or as you go through your early jobs, or you go through your externships, like, get out of the classroom. Like, that is a very important thing. Find out, like, what you're drawn to. Find out, like, what you want to do. Like, hey, you've got, you feel more energized by this work than this other work. Because there'll become a point, and I think it's true for a lot of law students, where, like, look, you're smart, like, you can do a lot of things. I could probably be a good tax lawyer if I really wanted to apply myself to do that, maybe. But it's not something that I am, like, excited about. It's not something that I draw energy from. So be on the lookout for that.
Yeah, and when I said that I wanted to go to law school right out of undergrad, and I had wanted to go to law school like over high school even. I thought, like, okay, being a lawyer is something that's going to get me out of bed every morning and want me to actually do the work. But then you have to answer the question, well, what type of law? Like, I could go into something like personal injury, and that could be what gets me out of bed every morning. Going to work knowing that every day I'm helping people against these giant corporations who really don't answer to anyone. Or maybe it's, I don't know, maybe it's waking up, going out of bed every morning and being an agent for, like, athletes, like professional athletes. Like, I don't know, like, but I guess it's the idea is, like, you don't know, you don't know what's going to get you out of bed in the morning until you learn about those types of law, until you get the experience. And again, like, people who haven't gone to law school yet just think of lawyers as like these people that go to courtrooms and argue in front of judges, and that's that. Like, they don't think of like all the other potential types of jobs that you can do as a lawyer. So like, at the state agency where I worked, one of my colleagues who I got to become friendly with ran the agency's OADR, which is the Office of Alternative Dispute Resolution. So basically, the idea is that like he's the one who's hopefully going in mediating disputes before it goes to trial. So like, people don't necessarily think of that as a lawyer's job, like, you know, because again, a lot of people don't even know that exists. So, and the part where you mentioned about how, you know, there are whole fields of law that might not even exist yet. I remember reading or hearing something like back in 2010, and this was regarding maybe my younger sister, who was younger than me. She just recently finished college. It's like, her career is probably going to be something that didn't exist back when she was born. You know, back in the late 90s, you know, what she's going to be doing for a living, yeah, probably didn't exist, you know. So, and I know that there's, I know some people who, they make a living recording podcasts. Like, that's literally how they make their living. Podcasts didn't really exist, at least not in the current form, back when I was born. That just wasn't a thing. There was radio, and that was it. So, it's amazing what the internet can do. And that's why I feel like, you know, that's what makes me excited about the future. And, you know, and again, like the law, like you said, the law is, not only is it something that has to change with the times, but it's something that's changing regardless of whether or not the times are changing, because lawyers are making arguments to judges about this needs to be changed for this reason. So, and that's something my torch professor told me. He was like, lawyers are really the only people who can basically convince a judge that, hey, the law is wrong. You need to change the law. So it felt empowering in a way.
So yeah, and you know, I think you're just looking at it, and some of it just comes from like the right mindset, and it comes from, you know, what it is to be a lawyer and to practice law, and it's okay if you're out there and you don't get anything else from this episode. Like, it is okay to not know what you're doing, and in fact, it would it would not scare me, but you're sort of, if you're closing off very early on, like, you're probably missing out on some things. So, you know, ride the wave, listen to what interests you, do the work that excites you, connect with firms, businesses, government agencies, whatever it is that you want to do that sort of align with your worldview or your values. And, you know, you're going to have a really rewarding career. And also, like, you know, don't, you know, just because you start off doing one thing doesn't mean that that's the thing you do for the rest of your legal career. So, you know, I've known some people who started off as, you know, criminal defense lawyers, and they go on to work in, one of my friends works, he has a cyber insurance company. That's what became a very big interest to him. He went in, thought he wanted to do public or criminal defense, and this sort of opportunity arose. There's a series of intermediary steps. He didn't just wake up one morning and say, I want to found a cyber insurance company. But, you know, he ended up where he started, and where he ended up is not there. And really, you know, it's okay. Like, it's okay. You're really going to have multiple careers in your career, and that's okay.
Yeah. And I mean, again, I just wouldn't want to be pigeonholed. Like, you got to think of the opportunities that come out and be like, yeah. And like, that's the thing is, like, if I wasn't looking out for opportunities, I would have never came back to Massachusetts. You know, it's just simple as that. I would never left New Jersey in the first place if I wasn't potentially open to new opportunities, going to a place where I didn't know anybody. You know, sometimes you have to take the first step to getting your hands dirty. And I don't know. I'm trying to come up with good analogies. You definitely have me beat on the analogy game. So
it's okay. You did something that is incredibly smart, and I think that more law students should do. And I'm not just going to pat myself on the back. you went to a professional lawyer conference, okay, in law school early on in your career. And I'll say that one of the best days I had as a law student was the Mass Bar had a CLE that I could go to for free on campus. And it was like how to start your own law firm. And I was a 3L and I was like, I don't have a job. Maybe I need to start my own law firm out of college. I was always sort of interested in it. But I went there and I started learning some very basics about running a law firm that I never actually got anywhere else for probably 10 more years. And so, getting out of the law school bubble, getting out and going to conferences, oftentimes students are given free tickets or very low cost tickets or whatever. Like, take advantage of those opportunities. So I'm saying this, and maybe it's easy for me to say, most law students out there will not do this. What made you sort of give up your Friday to come to a trial conference with us?
So I will preface by saying that early October, I was actually laid off from my full-time job. They eliminated my position. It was unfortunate, but I think I'm someone who tries to, all right, something bad happened. What can I take out of this positively? And I think one thing that I took out of it is like, I now have days free, where I can maybe explore some of those other opportunities that are open to me. And I guess a little background, Andrew Garza, who I mentioned previously, he came to our torts class, spoke about the case that you presented on at the conference, gave us a little bit of background, watched us, like really interesting stuff. Like, the idea of like, having the video, like that created video that showed what happened, like down to a T, and then talking a little bit about the focus groups. Very, very interesting stuff that I did not think of. Stuff that I wouldn't think of doing, like, even if I was a lawyer. Like, it's really innovative stuff that your firm conducted for the case. I think that's why you got such a huge verdict for your client. But he opened it up to one person, said, hey, if you write me 500 words or less in an email, why you want to come to this conference, I will pick one winner. And he picked me. And in my email, I said to him, I was like, I want to go because what you said about, it was something to the effect of, I don't know if I want to go into personal injury litigation. But I think the idea of getting out of the classroom as much as possible, learning with boots on the ground from real lawyers is just so valuable. And I just, I don't have anything else to do that Friday. Like, this sounds like a great opportunity. Specifically because I don't know what I want to do yet. Like, I'm here to learn. And going to that conference really kind of backed that up, because I spoke with plenty of lawyers from all over the country. And, they all told me, they were like, oh, so what firm do you represent? And I told them, oh, no, I'm actually a student. I'm not even a lawyer. And they just had some great advice to share me. They'd be like, yeah, no, you don't know what you want to do yet. You're still a 1L. Really just kind of basically reiterating what Andrew had told me. Like, you don't know what you want to do yet. It's great that you're taking advantage of all these opportunities that are afforded to you. Continue to do that. I think, honestly, if I had still had my full-time job, I probably would have just taken the day off. Like, I still would have registered, and if I gotten it, I'd been like, all right, I'm taking that Friday off because this is such a good opportunity. I can't pass this up. It was. I'm never going to forget that day. It was just amazing. And I think I came up to you after the conference and told you about, because you had done a presentation on character witnesses. I don't remember the exact term you called them, but it was, and I was like, this was such an eye-opening part. Like your part on the character witnesses, and I think Alexa's talk on loss of consortium were what struck me the most. Because again, something I wouldn't thought of, and I'm sure a lot of lawyers in the audience wouldn't have thought of either. But it was just such an eye-opening experience. I learned a lot, and just making those connections too. It's like, if any law students listening to this have an opportunity to do something like that, do it. If that means taking a day off work, if that means not not going out after the fact to hang out with your friends after 5 o'clock or something. Do it. Like you are making investment into your future, and you never know where it's going to lead you.
You do not know where it is going to lead you, and that is great advice to end this on. And thank you so much for your kind words. And and also if you're lawyers out there, be like Andrew. Get out and inspire students to reach out and to do. And I think what you'll find out there, or at least what's been true in my career and having met, probably tens of thousands of lawyers at this point, is as a profession, the legal profession is pretty generous in terms of time and mentorship. I think we all know that we wouldn't be wherever we are in our careers without somebody else taking time for us with no expectation of anything in return. So if you're a law student, that's a real dynamic. If you're a lawyer, do more of that because the profession needs you. So, Anthony, this has been fantastic. I was reminded by one of your peers. I did a bunch of episodes before we had our conference. The conference took up a lot of time for me, and then I got a little rusty. But I was told, hey, you didn't after we end our talk or end recording. I was saying how'd it go or whatever. So you didn't ask me the question about if you're getting a burger, what are you putting on the burger?
Mm-hmm. I was waiting for that question. Yep.
And I was like, you know what? That is bad form by me. Thank you for the feedback, and I'm not going to slip again. So I asked this question to all of my guests, to everybody that has been on the show, except for Maximo Sterling, one of your classmates. I did not ask Maximo. So maybe I'll have to have him back on.
I will. I was going to say, the next time I see Max, I'll ask him myself as well.
So you're at a cookout. You got a whole spread of everything you could ever want to put on a burger. It could be a veggie burger, hamburger, Kobe beef burger. I don't care. Some delicious burger that you wish to eat.
Okay.
What are you putting on that burger?
All right. Well, first of all, it's 100% beef burger. I am not a vegetarian or a vegan. If I'm eating a burger, it has to be meat. So, and let's put more meat on that. Let's put some bacon on that. Let's put a fried egg on it too. Why not? We're just going full carnivore with our burger. Maybe some grilled onions. I'd say grilled onions sounds good. If we're doing like a sauce, maybe like a homemade Chipotle mayo would be a good one. I know a lot of people like mayo on their burgers. I don't know why, but I don't like regular mayo, but there's something about Chipotle mayo that I love. So, yeah, it's probably what I'll put on my burger.
That's it. Grilled onions are always good. I love caramelized onions. Grilled onions are fantastic. I don't really get the appeal of like a plain onion, but hey, there's no this.
It would have to be a red onion in that case. Like if it's not a red onion, then it has to be some sort of cooked onion. Yeah. So
yeah. So this is a question I asked because there is no wrong answer. Burgers are delicious. Cookouts are awesome. And however you enjoy them is wonderful. We are all on our own journeys. So
cannot wait until it gets warmer when we can have those again. So,
well, Anthony, thank you so much. I appreciate your time. And if somebody's out there, how should they reach out to you? Could they connect with you on LinkedIn? If you're looking to hire Anthony or just learn about law?
Yeah. So, I'm on LinkedIn. You could just search for, I think it's Anthony V. Ardizzone. I think I have my middle initial in there. It's the one that says JD candidate at New England Law. I don't know how many Anthony Ardizzones are out there on LinkedIn, but
we'll put the link in the show bio. Okay. So out there, Anthony's resonating with you. He's got a good story. He's going to have a good future. Dropped a lot of knowledge on this. And thank you, Anthony.
All right. No, it was a pleasure, Ryan. Thank you so much for having me on.
Thank you for joining Ryan McKean in the Law Student Lounge, where real law students talk about their real lives. Are you a law student with a story to tell? Learn how you can share your story with us in the episode description. And join us next time in the Law Student Lounge.